And in the today's session, we are going to okay, I'll ask the team to place the link. Okay, they will do it today. I just forgot to anyway uh, put it. But if you want, you can just search for my name. You can just for Sabir Khan GitHub. You'll probably get my profile, right? So this is my profile. This is the profile. If you go to repositories, so there is the uh, guys, do not write anything onto the screen using Doodle if you are in the session, okay? Otherwise, I'll have to remove you from the session. So you can just go to GFG Workshop React, and this is where we are having all of our code, right? We are putting all of our code here. You can let me just paste this link in the chat as well. So you can just bookmark it for now, and I'll also ask the team to put this link in the description. Okay, without wasting any time, let's jump into code. Okay, let me open the Excalibur as well. So that's okay. Now what I'm planning to do in the today's class is basically to show you a few things, right? Uh, if you want, like, what do you want? You want me to explain the concepts? You want me to focus more on the concepts, or you want me to build the project? So building the project will be, uh, it will be a fast process, right? I won't be able to wait a lot, or I won't be able to spend a lot of time on each topic. If you want me to cover the concepts, the topics which you should know in React, then the approach would be different. Project would be minimal, but yes, the concepts would be there, right? Both concept and build project. So again, see, if you are building a project, then you have to focus on a lot of other things as well apart from the concept. So if you are ready for that trade-off, then because we have limited time, I cannot have the I don't have a luxury of for 4 to 5 sessions. So today is the second session already, right? We don't have much time. Concepts, some of them, some of you are saying concepts. See, project is the thing. See, what I can also suggest you is that key projects are all already there are a lot of projects on YouTube, right? If you understand the concept, then you can basically just watch the videos and build out your project, and you'll understand the non nuisance which are there, right? So we want to learn by doing concepts. Okay. Can we do a poll here? Just a second. Just a minute, huh? ठीक है, let's see. Uh, ठीक है, देखते हैं यार. Okay, let's build a kind of minimal project if you want, right? I can uh, do that. Yeah, you want me to build a to-do list? I can do that, right? Should I do that? Other project. Any other then? No, sir, it's a simple one. Uh, yes, no, no, I cannot. Authentication, definitely, I'm not gonna do in the whole series because it's a altogether different topic and it requires you to see back. If you're doing backend, then it make more sense. But I don't think you'll be able to do that. Okay. So anyway, if you want some fancy thing to build out, let's build out a e-commerce application that we started, right? Let's build out that, and I'm going to use the fake store APIs, right? Login that leads to user. Then I'll have to bring in this thing. If you want authentication, if you want me to teach authentication, then that would be a completely different thing, right? Meaning it requires a lot of effort, yeah. So I don't want to go into that. It's one of the tough, like a challenging topic to teach for now, given the time that we have. Routing, though, definitely you can do routing. Matlab, routing is not a very big problem. Okay, it's a easy thing. Anyway, let me start with the e-commerce only. Okay, and let's see. So I'm for the backend, I'm going to use the fake store APIs, right? Uh, Let me maybe I'll show you how authentication work, right? That can help you. So I'm going to use fake store, right? For like since we do not have a server, I'll fake the server by using these APIs. And to fetch the products, I'll call their get product API, right? If you want to add a product, you can call their this again post. You can make a post call let slash products, right? So I'm gonna try and use these APIs. They are open, easy to use. So and you'll be able to understand other things as well. Let's do that. Okay. So let me create a folder, right? Let's just use Wheat. So in the yesterday's class, I told you that Wheat is something which can help us bootstrap the application very quickly, right? And this is the command that you can write. So let's write that in the bash in your CMD or in your terminal if you are on Mac. So I'll simply say, I'll call it a what? Whatever, like shopping cart. I'll just keep the name shopping or something like this, right? I'll use React, I'll use JavaScript, and I'll just cd into shopping cart. I'll run npm install. And you can keep your videos off for now, right? It's not needed. Uh, but yes, you can turn on your mic. So you can see the shopping cart is created and let's run it, right? I'll just run the server npm run dev. And right over here, we have this shopping cart and it has got few things, right? So this is the familiar structure. We saw this yesterday, right? Let me, uh, I hope I'm audible, right? My voice, is it low or it's fine? It's audible. maybe there is an issue with at your end if you're not able to listen to it. Okay, perfectly fine. You can try and use earphones, headphones, right? If you have one. Anyway, let's begin. Let's see. So this is the familiar structure that we have right over here. Now, let's conceptualize first what we are going to do. So we will definitely have a landing page, right? So I can say a landing page wherein we can basically display the products, right? So this is the first task that we can do, right? We can display all the products like this, right? So this is how we can display our products. You can have a hero banner and all of that if you want, right? So what I'm gonna do is, for now, I'll just create the folder called components, first of all, components. And inside the components folder, I'll create a few things such as product. I'll create a product folder, and I'll also create something like product list, right? Like this. So that is fine. Product is going to represent a single product, right? So I'll simply say product.jsx, RAFCE. So this is going to be our product. So you already know how to create all of these components, right? Very simple React components. And I can have image in there, right? We are going to have props. And in the SRC, I'm going to put props.image. And then I can have a fig caption, and inside the fig caption, we can have like H2, which could be the price, right? So let's say I can have a, first of all, we can have a name of the product. So that could be props dot title, right? And then we can have props dot, so we can say props dot price, and we can just place a dollar sign for the currency as of now. And then we can have a description. So I'll simply say props dot description, right? Like this. So this is a very simple product that we have for now. And then we can also have a button right over here. Or if you want, we can configure the material UI so that we can quickly import the components. And okay, let me just zoom in. This is fine. So I'll configure material UI, right? So MUI is one of the very nice framework which you can quickly use, and it requires very less configuration, right? You can quickly get started with this. So let's just go to the docs, and I can click on material UI and I can click on installation. You can use Tailwind as well. You can follow the installation steps if you want. Now, if you see the default installation, it requires you to install this, right? So I'll just copy and I'll install this to my React project. So I'll install material UI. Because it has built-in components, I can quickly use those. Okay. So the uh, packages has been installed, and I'll also install one more thing, that is icons, right? So if you want to use material UI icons, you can basically install that package. So ideally we will have things like material UI, React DOM, and the other dependencies that we need to in order to effectively use this thing called material UI. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'll simply go to the components. So there are components in these frameworks. You will see key these frameworks are generally divided into few sections. One section is usually a component. Another section could be around, layouts and all. You will see this is layouts, right? If you want to create a kind of grid system, you can have grids. You can use these grids and all, right? So I'm going to use something called a card, right? So you can just search it here as well. You can just write card. So this is a built-in component. You can have a card like this as well, but I'll prefer this one, right? So I can just expand this. You can just click on show card, and this is kind of visible. So, okay, let's just copy. You can click on copy button. And instead of this, we can use the card provided by Material UI and we can call it a product, right? Like this. And if you want, you can just make it a arrow function as well. That's okay. And finally, we can export it outside. Export, I'll just explain what we are doing here. Okay. So I can just say product, right? Now, if you carefully see, so this is actually a card component, again provided by the Material UI. And then we have card media. Card media represent the image that you want to have. It is very similar. And then we have card content, very similar to the figure caption, right? So here we have the description, right? We can have the description, we can have the name of the item. So what I'm gonna now do is I'll say props, we'll receive props. And instead of this, we will actually get props.image, right? And here we will have props.title. Now, this is H5, right? So you can basically define that this typography, this should be a div, right? You can basically define inside a component. So ultimately, when it is translated to HTML, this will be translated to a div and the variant basically specify like how bigger the title would be. So that variant is H5, right? So we have headings from H6, H1 to H6, right, in HTML. So we are talking about the H5 heading here, right? Now, what you can do is I can just copy paste it again and let me just format this. So you can also have something called price and I can put a $sign here. And then we can have a description, right? Some description. This is some description or whatever the description that we are getting from the prompts, we can display that description as well. So I can simply say props.description, description. And this description could be huge, right? So if you talk about the fake store API and the products that we get here, so you can see get all products API, right? If you see the get all products API, let me just close this. So you can see, let me once again. So you can see this is how you can call it, right? So if you call it, we get products like this. So this is one product. It has got title, price, description. So this is what we are going to display. We are going to pass in our props and we are going to display them, right? So you can see sometimes the description could be large, right? So usually in a product or in a real application, this description is very well designed and very much thought of, and hence these descriptions are as per the design, like what is the width of your card and all of that. And as per those things, we decide these descriptions. So they are usually very small depending upon what you want to display. So what I'll do is, in order to keep the description length consistent, I'll just say substring. So since we can write all the JavaScript here, I'll just put substring 50, right? I'm going to just get the substring out of that description from the index 0 to 50. So I'm going to slice the string and put it here, right? And then I can say this could be a button, right? It could be a view or show product, right? And this could be, we can remove this, right? We don't need it. So this is a simple product component that we have created with the help of Material UI. And I think that is fine. Now let's just go and let's try to display the products, right? So okay. So guys, please concentrate here, right? Avoid unnecessary messages in the chat so that we can focus, other can also focus, right? Now, so this is one single product. Now, essentially what we are going to have this whole list of products. And we will have to create the whole, kind of grid uh, to display these products, right? So what I'll do is I'll simply say product list dot JSX. And here we have to we will again get the props. So props would be, so this is fine. I'll come to it. I can simply say product list. Yeah, right, product list. And then what I can have is we can also create something called pages, right? And so there is this thing called, so if you go to the applications such as uh, 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 maybe Airbnb, let's see Airbnb, okay? So if I just click on this one, uh, so I can basically navigate to different pages, right? Right over here, I can navigate to different pages, and you can see if I click on this, they simply the number of or the locations or the places which are getting displayed, they simply changes without even refreshing a web page. So there is a kind of API call which is going on behind the scene, right? Similarly, if I go to something like login, if I go to login, right? So sometime you will see we will go to the different page, right? If you go to sign up, you can go to the different page, right? So how you can basically go from one page to another, such as login page or a sign up page, without refreshing a web page, right? So that is the problem, right? If you talk about multi-page application, in multi-page application, what happens is if you click on login button, then your browser gets reloaded and you are redirected to the next screen, right? So, but in single page application, there is no redirection, right? The page does not usually refresh, right? So we just have one page which gets loaded initially, that is index.html, and onto this page, we simply keep on, changing the content, right? The React help us do that in the most optimized way. So that is what we want to do. So now the thing is, what I want to achieve is I want to basically navigate to the different pages without refreshing the web page, without reloading my browser. That is what I want to achieve. And this can be done in React using a tool called React Router DOM. So React in itself does not provide this facility. React in itself does not have, this thing that is these capabilities. So we have to bring these capabilities from outside because React is a very lightweight, simple to use library which simply deals with the UI and it does not have all the things out there, right? So what we do is we bring these things from outside. So what I'm gonna now do is I'll simply use something called React Router. So React Router basically help us perform the client side routing. So React basically deals with the client side, and if you want to perform the routing onto the client side, you want to navigate from one page to another, and at the same time, you want to change the URL, and you want that your browser does not refresh or reload, then you can use this tool called React Router. It's a very, very nice tool to use, right? So, okay, let's go to the docs. So this is the docs. You can go to the installation. So this is the installation, right? Uh, okay. Let's go to the declarative. So there are multiple modes that you can follow. This is the framework mode, this is the data mode. I'm going to use the declarative mode, right? So you can see I can just install the React router using this command called npm i React router, right? So let's install that. So once that is installed, now what I can do is I can enable React router in my application. So here is my app. If you go to the main.jsx, this is my app. We can remove the strict mode for now. You can later on add it by yourself. So what I can now do is I can bring in these things. So I can just bring in browser router from the React router package that we have just installed. And what you can do is you can wrap your application inside the browser router. This step basically enables or turn on the feature of React router in your whole app component. So inside your whole application, even inside the nested component inside app, the browser router features are enabled or they are accessible. So you just need to do import and put this browser router around your app. That's it. That simply enables the uh, browser router capabilities in your application. Now, the next thing is the routing. How do we do routing? So what you can do is you can basically create routes, right? So you can see this is one route, right? So if you are on this path, then I want to display this thing. If you are on, let's say, you can create nested routes as well, right? You can perform authentication before jumping onto those routes, right? So all of those things are there in React Router. You can explore by yourself, but but what I'll do is I'll just create. So what I'll do is I'll just remove all of these things. And we don't need this, don't need this. So what I'll do is I'll say import from React Router, right? So what I'm gonna import is something called routes, right? And I'm also going to import route, right? And what I'll do is I'll simply say uh, routes. And inside the routes, I'm going to create a route, right? So you can create multiple routes. So here I can specify the path. So let's say if you visit the login path, then what I want to display. So you can display the components here. You can specify your component. You can call your component here. So basically what I'll do is, since these are kind of pages for us, so we can have a separate folder for pages. And here I can simply say all products page, which is going to be our landing page. Second could be our login.jsx. Third could be your, let's say, register.jsx, right? And then could be your cart.jsx. So these are multiple pages which I have created, and I can just say all products page, all products page. And let's go to cart, let's say REFCE. And if I go here, this is a cart page. If I go here, RAFCE, H1, login page, login page, and RAFCE. This is going to be our register page. Register page. Right. Save. So if you go to app, now what I can do is if you go to login, I can simply say you can basically go to the login component, right? So you'll have to call the component like this. Similarly, there could be other routes. So one could be the products route. So that would be your all products page. And then there could be a cart, right? Then uh, you can go to the cart page. And similarly, if you have a register path, and then you can go to register page, right? So all the pages are imported automatically. Now, if I go to my application, so localhost 5173, so we go here, let me see. All right. Now, if I go to this path, right? So if I go to slash products, you can see all products page. And let's remove the default styling, which is present. And from index.css. So that's it. Close other. Save. So you can see the all products page, right? Because we are at this path slash products. And in our app, what I've done is I have basically I have added a routes expression wherein it says that, okay, if your route matches this path, right, that is slash products, then I have to display the all products component, which is nothing but this thing, right? We just have a heading right over here. If you go to the path that is slash login, so if you go to, let's say, slash login, so you get a login page, right? So this is the simple login page. Then we have a register page, right? If you can go to the register page as well. Similarly, you can go to the cart page and other pages as well, right? So it's a very simple route that I have created. Now, another thing is key. Let's have a nav bar as well, so that we can, click on the link and we can navigate to different pages, right? So if you simply add, let's say, let me have a div here, right? Let me format. If I go right over here, so let's say if I do the unordered list, and inside the unordered list, let's say there are three LIs and each LI has an anchor tag. So if you try to create this navbar and you have, let's say, something like slash login and let's say slash products, register, login, and let's say products and register. So in this case, you can see we are getting these links, but when I click on these, the browser will be reloaded, right? If you see, the browser will be reloaded. So you can see if I click on login, you can see for a very fraction of time, the browser is kind of getting reloaded, right? Which defeats the whole purpose of single page application. And hence we need to use something else instead of using regular anchor tags, right? So what we need to use is again, something provided by React Router. So React Router gives us that thing called nav links if you want to use links for navigation, right? So instead of these anchor tags, I'll use something called nav links. And instead of the href prop, we need to provide a to prop, right? Like this, and save. If I now click on login, so we are on login. If you click on products, we are at products. If you click on register, we are on register. And you can see the page is also not getting refreshed. So again, thanks to React Router provides us all of these capabilities such as navlink, which can help us navigate from one page to another without refreshing a web page. So I hope this part is clear to everyone. Now we need a sidebar or a app bar. So in terms of React Router, we call this a app bar actually, right? So this is a responsive app bar with drawer, but I don't want responsive for now. Mm, 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 mm. We can have a simple app bar. Basic app bar. This is more than sufficient, right? I'll just copy this. So what I'll do is inside the components, I'll have a nav bar. And here I'll simply say navbar.jsx and I just paste that component. So this has to be a navbar and let's say export default navbar. And we can make this a arrow function, right? Just to be consistent across. So this is a simple arrow function that we have. And now we can use this nav bar. So I can go to my pages, for example, and to this page. If I simply say nav bar, right, like this. So that means this nav bar would be included onto my products page. You can see this has been included, but it's not there onto other pages. So what instead we can do is we can use something called a layout, right? We can create a layout and we can place the nav bar and other common stuff in the layout and the dynamic part can change, right? So what I'll do is I'll simply create a layout component, right? And inside layout, I'll again have layout.jsx. So I'll explain what I'm trying to do. So there's a simple layout, and inside this layout, we can have empty JSX tag because I don't want these empty divs, right, unnecessarily. So what I can do is, or you can also use fragment. You can note down these things. Fragment is a kind of empty JSX tag. It does not translate to any valid HTML. It's just for wrapping things up in your component, right? If you want to wrap something in your component without adding a kind of extra HTML tag, then you can use something called fragment provided by React again, right? So right over here, we will have few things. That is the header. So inside the header, we can have a navbar, right? Which we had just created. And then we can have a main section. Inside the main section, what I'll do is I'll have a props and I'll simply say props dot children, right? I'll explain this part. Don't get intimidated, okay? Footer. And we can have footer if you want. You can create a footer and you can place the footer right over here. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a layout basically, right? So here I have placed a navbar and the footer, right? So this is your layout. So, and this is your main content, okay? This is your main content. And I have, if you see right over here, I'm using props.children. I'll talk about it. So what we do is if you write something like this, right? Layout, layout, something like this. And if you put anything in between now inside this layout component, right? So this is the open tag or a open tag for the layout, and there's a closing tag. Now, if you put anything right over here, something like h1, right? H1. This is a heading. So in the layout, you can also pass something like props, right? How you can pass props? You can say layout and you can pass props like name, right? Let's say ABC, something like this. So this is one way of passing props. Now, if you wrap anything inside the opening and closing tag, then this part, which is there in between, right? Which is there in between, this part is also treated as props, and they are passed as, let me, so they are actually passed as something called props.children. So when the layout component is called, whatever you wrap inside the layout, closing and opening tag, those things are passed as a children in as a props inside the layout component. So when the layout component will get called, all of those things will be available as a props, and we can basically place them here. So what I'm now trying to do is basically, so if you go to your app, right? And what I can now do is I can say layout, right? And you can remove this div now. You can remove this snap bar for now, right? Format. So what I've done now is ki I have a layout. So whatever is evaluated inside routes, right? So for example, let's say you evaluate all products, right? Your path is slash product. So this will be evaluated. So this will be automatically, like this will be passed as this all products component will be passed as a props.children inside the layout, and layout will return this whole thing, right? So it will return a neighbor, it will return like whatever the all products is that will be passed down to props.children, and this whole thing will be returned. So this is a better structure now. We are also using semantic tags such as header, main, and footer. So this makes your layout or your app very, very, like it's now much better, right? It can handle a lot of things. So this is what layout is. This is why I have added the layout. So whatever is evaluated. So for example, if you go to slash cart, so this cart component will be passed as props.children inside the layout, and layout will return this whole thing, right? So this whole thing will be kind of placed right over here, right over here like this, right? And this will be returned as an app, right? And that app will be displayed, right? So this is what we have done here. Now let me just okay, so there is the one navbar in the all product space. So you can see now there is a nice navbar at the top, and if you go to slash products, you can see the same navbar. And if I go to slash cart, so since it's a part of the layout, you can see the page is changing, but since it's available inside the layout, so the nav is still there, right? Similarly, if you go to login, that would still be there, right? So that is fine. Now let's customize this navbar a little bit, and then I'll give you a pause so that you can also try. So I'll simply say shopping cart, right? And then we have a button. Okay. So let me create few more buttons and let's see how the styles are. So this is fine. We can basically create something like products, and we can say login, we can say cart if you want, right? And I want this button to behave as a nav link, right? So what I can do is I can say component, and component has to be a nav link provided by the React router like this. And we can also now pass a prop so that those props are added or passed down to the nav links. So I can simply say login, and I can also simply say uh, slash card. So this is actually a syntax provided by Material UI. This may not be valid for other frameworks which are out there, right? So it basically help you that, okay, you want to have these style like buttons, but your component, the underlying component should behave as a nav link, and it should receive these props. So you can specify these props directly right over here. If I now save, if I go to products, you can see I'm able to navigate right over here. Login, cart, products. We are able to navigate to multiple pages. And I'll also do one more thing uh, in order to remove this kind of default padding. What I'll do is I'll simply say, let me go to index CSS, and I'll simply say body padding is 0. So, okay, let's go and see if it is. Let me use the universal selector, and I'll simply say padding has to be 0. And let me use margin has to be 0. So you can see the default margin and padding has been removed, and this is much better now. So yes, everything is working fine. So we have added the navbar and we are able to route to different pages. So this is what the React router is all about. This is what exactly the React router does. So a lot of people were asking yesterday how we can use React router. So this is how you can basically use it very simply. So let me just recap. So we enabled the React router by just wrapping our app, and then we had imported the routes, and inside the routes we can basically place our route expressions, right? So if the path matches, then that component is kind of rendered by the React router. And for navigational purpose, for the buttons to be treated as links for the navigational purpose, so that the URL also changes, we are using nav links provided by React router in our uh, basically in our this thing, that is the nav bar, right? So now question, guys, if you have any question, please put it in the chat. uh, Let me. So this should be fine now. Disable the annotation. Right? All right. Okay. Questions. Please explain the layout part. Okay. Okay, let me explain the layout part separately. Okay, let me explain the layout part. So if you talk about the layout part, so let me simply create a component called let's say dummy dot jsx. Let's say we have this component, okay, and this component simply returns, hey, I am a dummy. Just concentrate here, dummy comp, okay, and we can have an emoji if you want. Let's say hello emoji. We can have, okay, this is fine. So this is a simple dummy component. And now if I go and if I simply put this dummy component here, right? Dummy. Uh, so just concentrate here, okay? Let's go to products. So you can see we are getting this component, right? The dummy component that you have. Okay. So this is what the dummy component is. If you are calling it here, whatever is being returned by the dummy component, so dummy component return this part, so that is getting displayed, right? I hope this is clear to everyone. Is this clear? I have a all products page, all product inside all products page. What I'm just doing is I'm just using one component. That's it. I have just added one dummy component. That's it. Nothing else. I hope this should be clear, right? There is nothing new in there, right? Okay. Okay. Now, what I can do is if I want to pass a prop inside dummy component, right? So let's say we can accept props. Uh, I can simply say hello from uh, I can say hello from, and I can say props dot name, right? So if I want that, okay, I want to call this dummy component with some name, let's say Max, right? And if I save, so you can see it says hello from Max, right? So this is how you pass the props, right? Is that clear? Is that clear? So I'm accepting that props and I'm just putting it, I'm just displaying it. That's it. I hope this should be clear, right? How this is being passed. Now, what if instead of creating a self-closing component, what if I put a closing tag and if I put some elements there, right? So let's say this is a nested H2, or let's say if I put a paragraph and if I put a lorem ipsum there, right? So what I've now done is instead of a self-closing component, this dummy was now inside the dummy, I have added few things. But if you go right over here, nothing will be displayed, right? These H2 and paragraph is not getting displayed, right? So why they are not getting displayed? Because whatever you place inside dummy, right? Whatever you place between this opening and closing tag of dummy, these things, all these things are passed as a props. And that is actually a special prop that is known as children, right? So if I simply do children, so these things, these H2 and paragraph will be passed down as a props and they will be displayed here. So if I save, you can see this is now getting displayed, right? This is now available, right? So what I have done is when you are writing, if you go to app, so this means you are calling a layout component. And inside the layout component, you are passing whatever is being evaluated as a props.children, right? So let's say this gets evaluated basis upon the path. So that means the all products page will be passed to the layout component as a props.children. And what I'm doing is I'm returning from the layout component. What I'm doing is I'm returning this thing, right? This whole structure by placing whatever is being passed as props.children inside the main element, right? Inside the main JSX tag. So this whole thing would be returned. And if I go and inspect this thing, we'll actually realize that we have a div, this div of ID root, and you can see the header, the main and footer. And this is what we passed. So you can see this div, and there is one more div, h1. So this is what? This is nothing but your all products page, right? This thing. So so the idea is whatever you place inside the between the opening and closing tag of a component, it is also treated as a props, and it get passed inside the component as a props, and it can be accessed like this inside the component. That is props.children. So that is the same concept that I have used right over here, so as to create a common layout across the all components or all the pages. I hope this is clear to everyone now. This is like you have now understood few things. Uh, I hope this is a little bit clear now, right? This makes sense or not? Still, okay. Route part, if you go to app.jsx, route part is simply you need to put this routes expression. Again, it's coming from React router. They suggest you to place all the route expression inside this routes component provided by React router. And then what I've done is I have routes and then we have route, right? So this is if the path matches, if in your browser, the path matches slash login or slash products, so that component will be displayed, will be rendered. So if I go to, let's say, slash login, so if I click on this login, right? So what basically happens is, if you click on this login button, right? So nav link will basically change the path, right? It will change the path to slash login, and slash login will be evaluated like this, and that would be displayed. Right? That's it, right? Card products. I hope this is clear now, this part. Okay. Explain the dummy part. So dummy is simply a component, right? And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pass these as a props.children inside the dummy component. That's it. The same concept is used here to create the layout. So whatever goes inside the layout is basically placed. So if you go to the app, so whatever is evaluated, that is passed inside the layout as a props.children, and the layout will basically return this whole thing by placing that component inside the main tag. That's it, right? So it's better in terms of semantics. It's better in terms of SEO optimization, in terms of structure. So this layout makes the whole page little bit structured and much better than the simple divs and all, right? So we should use these semantic tags such as header, main, and footer, right? And this follows in all the pages because of the layout. So if I even go to the login, so you can see the main part is simply changing because React is doing that thing in the most optimized manner. You can see that flash on the uh, element, right? So that is what it is, right? You can explore these things by yourself as well, right? Please do check it out, like how props.children work. You can note this down. I guess you have now get a hang of what it does. Uh, but that's okay. So let me just remove this dummy component. Okay, we don't need it. We can discuss all of those things later on. Those are not relevant. 403, you can just Google it. It will be a simple check that you will have to place. Okay. Now, that's okay. Just a second. Let's see what is wrong here. Fragment is not defined. Let's go to, I have removed fragment from here. All right. So I'll have to import fragment. Oh, so this should be fine. Now, let's uh, let's load the products from fake store into our application, right? So how you can load it, right? So this is our all products page, right? This is our all products page, and now I have to basically make an API call. Now, how to make an API call using React to the outside world or to the server? Okay, so that can be done. So forms and other things we might be able to discuss tomorrow. Okay, but this is okay. So I have to basically fetch all the products like these. So what is the best place to fetch all the products? So see, when we talk about React application, right? When we talk about React application, so if you update the state, the React will re-render the UI and will update the, update the page. But let's say sometime what happens is even we are updating the pages, or let's say we are able to update the UI, but at the same time what we want is we want to basically perform other things as well at the same time. So for example, if someone is trying to add the product into the cart, so in that case what we will do is we will definitely add the products in the UI, that okay, your cart has now one more product. But at the same time, we also want to make a call to the backend saying that this item has been added in the cart, so that the backend can save that thing in the uh, database, right? Right. So this is your React application. Okay. So these things are actually known as side effects, right? Side effects. So if you go to the, let me show you. If I go to react.dev, and if you go to the reference, if you go to hooks, uh, so there is this hook called useEffect. So you can see useEffect is a React hook that lets you synchronize a component with the external system, right? That means if you want to connect to the external system, right, do all of these things. So useEffect is the hook which can help us do that. So in our case, since we have to make an API call when when this page is rendered, right? So where exactly? Just a second. Let me close this. So when this page is rendered, what we want to do is we want to perform a side effect. Side effect is basically an API call in our case, and we will be fetching the products from the fake store server, right? So this is a fake store server that we are going to use, right? So it'll make an API call. So this is a side effect, the external thing. It's not a part of something, like it's not a part of React process, right? So it's outside React. So we call these things side effects, and use effect is the place where we can put our side effects. We can write our side effects, right? So now the structure or the syntax of side effect is basically you can see right over here. This is how we usually write it. So you write a use effect hook and it accepts a callback function and the dependency array, right? So the setup is actually a function and these are the dependencies. So let me explain this. So if I just go right over here and if I go right over here and if I do something like use effect, right? So it accepts a function and the dependency array, right? So here we can basically write all the variables on which we want this use effect to run again, right? So there could be a scenario that you might want to run this use effect when something changes, right? So for example, just think of a situation that let me have a button here, use effect, right? So this is the use effect. I'll just say console.log. Uh, inside use effect without or we can say inside use effect with empty dependency array, right? Then there could be another use effect as well where the dependency array is not there, right? This can also be the version of use effect. uh, then there could be a use effect. So for example, let's say if I go and if I simply create a count state, and if I say set count and use state, and let's say I initialize the count with 0, and let's say I'll create a button right over here, and on click, let's say I want to call a function, uh, and I'll simply say set count to count plus 1, right? And I'll call this increment, and let's display the count as well. So I'll simply say h2 uh, count, the value of count is count, right? So if you go to use effect has already, okay, let's remove, save. So you can see there is a count and there is a button, right? If I click on this, the count basically changes, right? Now, if you go and inspect this thing, right? If you go to console, if I refresh this, you can see, you can see use effect with empty dependency array and use effect with no dependency array, with empty dependency array. And here I can put count. So I'm putting this state here, right, in the dependency. So you can have multiple dependencies as well. So use effect with count as the dependency. Now, if I refresh, you can see all the use effects are getting executed, or all the use effects are running after the first render, right? So the first one, second one, and this is the third use effect that we have written. Now, if I simply click on the increment, so that will basically update the count state, and then we will analyze like which use effect is getting executed, right? So let's click on that. So you can see inside use effect with no dependency array, this one is getting executed and this one is getting executed because count is the dependency here. This will be executed whenever the count changes, and hence it's a dependency, right? But you can observe right over here, the second one is not getting executed, right? So think of a situation, there's we want to load the products, but there could be other things as well on our page, right? For which there could be other states. Now, if you are changing those states, do you want your like do you want to refetch the product if you are clicking on other things or you are changing the state? Do you want to refetch those refetch the product, or do you want to make the API call to the fake store again and again if you are basically changing other things? What do you think? So there could be other things, right, which can be there on your page, such as increment. Do you want to refetch the products in those calls as well, right? If you're performing increment, let's say, do you want to perform or do you want to refetch the products again? Is it required to refetch the products again? No, it won't be required because you are changing other things. It has nothing to do with your products, right? Your products are, you're not changing anything on your products, right? So what is the best place to make an API call to fetch the products? See, let's say there are multiple things on your web page, such as count and other things. Now, what is the best place that you uh, do you think that we should have? See, this is getting executed for each re-render, right? This is getting executed for each, if even if the count changes or anything changes, this will be executed for. So this will be executed for each state change whatsoever whatsoever. Uh, and if we talk about this one, right, this will be executed just after the first render, first render, right? And this will be executed if count changes, right? So which use effect makes more sense to fetch the products? Which one? The first one or the third one or the second one? See, state is fine. State can be used to display the product, but you will have to bring those products first, no? If you do not bring those products from the server, how you will be able to set the state and display it? You won't be able to do that. So first you need to bring those products on the server, and hence you need to make a API call or a side effect using the use effect hook to bring that in your application and then set it in as a state, and then you can display it, right? That's why we need to make an that's what the role of use effect is. Okay, batao bhai, what do you think, which is the best place to make an API call? The second one, because we just want to load the product just after the first render. For the subsequent render, I do not want to refetch the products again and again, because that will slow down my application, and that does not fulfill any purpose, right? So actually we have to make a call here, right? So that is what I'm gonna do. I'll simply use fetch for now, and we can make a call. Or if you want, you can use Axios. Axios is another library which can help us make an API call very easily. So maybe we can use Axios only, because that would be more intuitive for you. So if you go to Axios HTTP, GitHub, right? So it's a promise-based HTTP client used for making requests, right? Uh, so if you see Axios API, so if you want to make a get call, so this is how you can make it, and you can pass the parameters. Very intuitive, right? This is the path you can provide, the method that you want to call. If you want to make a post call, you simply write Axios.post. So I want to make a get call. So what I'll do is I'll simply say import Axios from Axios, and instead of fetch, I'll simply say Axios.get. It's also a promise based, so we can simply chain on dot then and dot catch. This is the endpoint that I want to call. I can just place it for now. We can have, see, we can have the better implementation of all of this. If you see the production grade applications, then we do not write this API logic inside our component. We can abstract this out somewhere else as well. But for now, this is okay. So you can say response, and I can just display the response. And I can have catch. error console.log error, right? Format. So this is a simple Axios call that I have placed inside the second use effect. Save. If we go to our application and if we open the terminal, so you can see we are getting an object here. I'll just comment these out so that we don't see unnecessary. So you can see we are getting a data here. So there is this data property inside the response, which actually has all of these products. So what I can do is I can say response.data, right? And you can see this is what the data is, the actual product. So it has got title, it has got price, the description, and image as well. If you expand this, you have the image URL as well, and the rating and other things. So what I can now do is I can basically create const. I can create the state products, set products, and use state, and I can say the empty products array. And once the products has been fetched, so I can set the products. So you can set the product like this as well, response.data. This is also fine, but this is not recommended. So what we usually do is we basically register a callback here, right? So registering a callback ensures that this will be run like there is a guarantee that this thing will be executed now or later on, right? So hence registering a callback to update a state is a better implementation, and it is kind of recommended. So what I can now do is I can simply say set products, and I'll simply say response.data. So whatever is being returned by this callback function, that actually gets set to this products, right? And if this products is set, then we can pass it down to the other things. So what I'll do is I'll remove this part, the count part, or maybe I'll just comment this out so that you can refer on later on. And what I'll do is I'll simply use the product list component to pass this. We can have import product. Let's see if we have the export. Yes, we have it. Product list. So I'll pass this in the product list as a prop. So I'll simply say products has to be the product. So I'm passing this state as a props, and the name of the prop is products only. So if you go here, we'll receive this prop, and now what we have to do is we have to basically display all the products. So the simple way is you can just loop over all the products. So I can simply say props dot products dot map, and we will get each product here. And for each product, I can just say return product, and I can just pass all the required attributes, required props. So that would be props dot title, and price would be props dot price, and image would be props dot image. Description would be props dot description. Save. So if you go right over here, product is not defined. Let me bring in the product. Import product. Product. The product slash product. Save. Okay. Property substring. Okay, there is a problem with the substring part. So if you go to the product, so we have this props dot description dot substring. Okay. So I can simply do one thing, that is props dot description uh, dot length and end. The length is not 0, then okay, this is also problem. I'll have to props dot description. I can have this only. So if the description is present, then I want to compute the length. So you can see we are now getting the products here, but is there a problem? Okay, sorry guys. So this has to be a product. Yeah. Save. So you can now see we are getting it, right? We are getting the products as well as their image right over here, right? And it is expecting you to pass key prop, so that I'll pass. Key has to be product dot id. So everything is fixed now, and you can see the products are kind of fetched. And now if you want, you can display them in a grid format. One more thing I want to do. Just a minute. Let's have a better button here. Button has to be so this is fine. Okay, maybe I'll have a outline button. Line. Paint. Outline. This is fine. Okay, now we can also create a grid. So grid can be created again with the help of Material UI. So if you go to the layout section, they have this thing called grid, right? And I can use these grids. Let me just expand. So I'll have to use I can go to the product list. We can say grid. Just give me a second. I'm just trying to write a grid here first. So you can see right over here, we have a grid, and it is actually acting as a container as well. So these are again the things which are provided by Material UI. You can Google it, do ChatGPT around these things. And then uh, I want this multiple breakpoint thing. So like this. So this is what I want. Uh, and instead of this, I'll place my product here and I'll return this format, and I'll place this whole thing inside the grid container. Let me explain this format first. So what I've done is I have a grid container, and inside the grid container, what I'm doing is for each product, I'm creating a column, and inside the column, I'm placing a product. So this is a column logic which I have written. This grid basically represent uh, grid below represent a column against a product, and this is a row, you can say. Below grid represent 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 a row, right? So in one row, we are creating kind of columns. And the thing right over there is you can only create 12 unit columns in one row. So that means if the size of the first column is, let's say, on medium screen, I want to display 3, right? On large screen, let's say large screen, I want to display 4. So that simply means if you are taking 4 units, then 4 threes are 12. So only there would be 3 columns, right? If you are allocating 3 units to one column, then there would be 4 columns, right? So it's like that, simple maths. So you can see right over here, we are getting a kind of grid because it's getting treated as a medium screen, I think. Uh, but why? Just a minute. So inspect. Let's have a responsive screen and let's see if this is responsive or not. Yes, it seemed responsive. For a small screen, I can define 12 units. So that if we go on to the small screen, this should be fine. But large, we can say medium should be 6. Large, I'll make 3 hours so that there are 4 columns. This is much better now, right? Inspect. So this is okay now, right? We can fix other styles as well. So this is a simple landing page that we have created with the help of Fake Store. Now, questions, guys? Yes. Okay. Questions. Can you fix the right scrolling? Where is the right scrolling? There is no right scrolling. No, right scrolling is not there in my application. It's a horizontal, it's a vertical scrolling only. Where is right scrolling? It's not there. I will need to go to the left to see the complete page. Then that means you're messing up with the styles. So you can see I just have added one thing here in order to remove the default styles, right? I have added this thing, a universal selector in my index.css file. So you can try this out if this works. You need to fix the styles. Sir, in Axios, what is called instance like something defined with CRL. So if you basically want to, let's say if you want to pass headers, let's say, or if you want to pass a common parameter across all the API calls, right? So what you can do is you can create an instance, and you can configure that common thing in the instance, and then you can use that instance to make all the API calls. So those common thing will automatically be included in all the API calls that you are going to make in the instance or using the instance. So that is what this is, right? What the use case for instances. Okay. Can we also add the data using fake store? Yes, we can add the data as well. So they provide a new add new products API, which you can basically use to add the data. Okay, this is fine, I think. Let me remove the SH1, it's not needed. This is all products page, login page, and card. I'm not sure how they are processing that data. Maybe they'll store it. We can try it out. So if you go to slash products here, and if I just copy the curl, so 1 second. So you need to pass this payload basically, right? You need to pass that data. You can see right over here how it is getting passed. You need to pass it like this. If you want, I can just show you. If you just copy the curl, and so you can see we are getting the ID right over here, right? So maybe I'll simply say my new product. Okay, I think they are just returning the same thing each time. They're not creating it. So whatever you basically send in the data or in the request, that is being returned, right? That only is getting returned. If you go to the product 21, okay. So they are kind of faking that thing, right? Faking the product creation. So it's not supported that way, right? The way you do in the actual server. It's not supported in that way. Yes, just for getting responses to 100, correct. Nothing, you can ignore this, whatever I did here, okay? It's not relevant. Okay, so what is next? What do you want next? What do you want me to do next? Loading effect. Can you explain how to do with fetch? So fetch is simple. You can just comment this out, fetch. And so fetch basically works in two steps. First, you need to have a response. So we'll grab the response. Now this response is not in readable format. So we basically transform this response into a JSON format, right? And this returns a promise. So we will have to chain on one more promise, one more dot then. And here actually we will get the data. So if you do console log of data, so this is what, this is how you can do it via fetch. Now, if I just refresh and if I go to inspect, let's close this. You can see we are getting this data using fetch. And if you want, you can just set products data, save, and you can see we are again starting to get the products. So it's like that. Okay. You can use either way, whatever you want. I prefer Axios usually because it's more clean and it provides a lot of other capabilities. So your choice. Okay. Some warning. Okay, that warning I can fix quickly. So that is because of this. I can say key has to be product.id. So key is basically used internally by React to maintain or to create that virtual DOM or to distinguish each node. So this has to be unique, and you can see that warning is now gone. The difference using Axios is the tool built on top of fetch only, right? So internally it uses fetch and the uh, traditional things which are available in JavaScript, which can be used to make the API call. So there are things like XML, HTTP request, right, and fetch. So Axios is like a wrapper built on top of fetch, and it helps us make the request in a more cleaner way. That is the only thing. How we can integrate permanent database. For database, you'll require a server, right? You'll need to have a server, and server can then connect to the database and it can work. Price comparator, range finder in left side, what is the difference? Ajax call and Ajax is a different thing. Ajax is basically a technique. Fetch basically help fetch and Axios. They are the things which help us make Ajax call. Okay. So now what we can do is we can implement this thing. If you click on show button, then this single product should be displayed along with other relevant details, right? So we can basically quickly implement that part, not log in and register. I'm not gonna do that. So, so how we can basically implement this is, let's say if you click on this, right? Then so if you want to basically fetch the single product, right? So you can see get a single product. So how you can get it? You will have to make a call at slash product slash ID. So let's say if I want to fetch a product with ID 1, then I'll have to put slash product slash 1 right over here, and this product with ID 1 would be fetched. If I put 2 here, so I'll get the product with ID 2. If I put 3 here, so I'll get the product with ID 3, right? So I'll have to utilize this ID, and I'll have to basically uh, pass this here. So what we can now do is, so let's say I'll create a page. Let me first close the close all. Let's create a page, show product dot jsx rafce. And now what I want is, if someone clicks on that thing, that button, then we should be able to go to the slash product slash ID, right? So that we can do in products. So right over here, I can basically import from React Router DOM. From React Router, what I can import something called link. So link is something, so I can simply say component has to be link, and it should have a two prop again. So that two prop would be dynamic. So it should be slash products slash dollar product ID, right? So the props.id, we should have props.id, right? And let's check we are passing this here. So we are not passing the ID as a prop. So let's pass it product.id, save. So that ID will be placed here. Now, if I save and refresh, so just look at here. So this is now a link. If I click here, so you can see I'm going to this URL now, slash product slash 1. If I click on this, I'm able to go to slash product slash 2 and slash product slash 3. So, but there is no page which matches that URL pattern. slash product slash something. So we'll have to add one more route which can basically handle that path. So I'll simply say path, and it has to be slash product slash something. So that something would be a variable, and it would be, we can basically store it inside this variable called product ID, right? So colon simply specifies that after products, this can be anything, right? So this is how exactly it works. So this will be your ID actually, right? And what I want is, I want to say H1 show single product page. And now I can simply say show product. I can just bring in that show product page. Now, if I go back and if I click on this, you can see show single product, right? If I click here, show single product. Now, what we can do is we can make an API call basis upon that ID, that if I want, if the value is 3, then I can fetch the third product like this, right? So how can I do that? So first we will have to grab this ID from the URI, right? So again, thanks to the React router. So React router provides these things directly to us, right? So whatever is the value, we can directly grab, right? So how you can grab? You can see uh, there is this hook provided by React router called useParams, and it can help us grab the parameters which we are passing, that is this number, that is this ID, right? So what I can now do is I can just say import from React router, and I can just say use params hook and const, let's say params is use params console dot log params. Let's just print them first and let's see what we are getting there. Params. Format, save. Let's open the console. So you can see the value of this product ID we are getting inside the params object as 3, right? So if I go to some other product, let's say this one, so we are getting it as 6 because the value is 6. So since now we have an ID, we can basically make an API call, right? So I can destructure that product ID from here, product ID, and what I can do is, again, I can just use effect to make an API call, and this would be a single API call just after the first render, and I can bring in Axios, right? And I can say Axios.get, and I can say, let's go to this URL, and so right over here, we will have to put the product ID, whatever the product ID is. So dot then response, and I can just say console dot log response dot data, right? So that's fine. You can put dot cache if you want, but for now it's okay. So let me now show you. If we go to products, just focus, just see, just focus on the console. So you can see we are getting the whole product fetched for the ID2 because this is ID2. Now, since we have the data, we can just simply display it, right? So how we can display it? We can use the card only to do this. This card is sufficient. Not this one. I want this only. So I can just say format, and I can put all of these imports as well. And here we can basically create a state const product set product. use product, sorry, use state, and this should be null initially, right? So I can simply check if product, if there is no product, so I can just say not product. And then in that case, I can just return a paragraph saying loading like this. If product is available, then I'll display this. So there, I'll simply do product dot image, uh, product dot name, and product dot description, right? You can have price as well. You can remove the card action if you want, right? And I can say set product as response dot data. So let's first see if this is kind of working. You can see we are getting that product, right? Let me have some margin as well. So I can say margin top. I can just say empty has to be 20, right? Or 15. So this is the product that we are getting. We can say the dollar. So this is fine. And we can display the other relevant information, I think. That is the rating and all, right? So I can say rating, and rating we can display very nicely again by using this thing, okay? So let me expand this. So let me use this, and we can say rating, expand, and right over here, we can simply say product dot rating dot rate, product dot rating dot rate. So you can see we are able to display the rating as well. But I don't want this input effect. So, precision. Read on. Okay, so we can give this thing that is read only. So I can just say read only. Okay. So now if I go here, you can see this is a read only rating. So this is kind of extra information that you can display. You can display the reviews associated with the products and all of those things. Let me have a box as well. And I can place this box is the container provided by the material UI, and we can say container. Uh, mx has to be mm, okay, just leave it for now. This is fine. So anyway, let's go back. So if I click on this, you can see we are able to see the rating and the product. You can increase the size of the image as well. You can say 240 or 340. It's the full image is being displayed now. And let's go and see this one. So this is also fine, right? So this is a kind of show page that we have created. Uh, if there are associated comments which are there, right, we can also display them. So let me just check if they provide. I don't think they have the reviews related stuff there. But yes, in a real application, you can basically associate reviews with the product and you can fetch the reviews as well and display it here, right? I hope that these things make sense. Questions, guys? Particular right on how can we display the particular product right on product without changing the URL? So, matlab, you want to display it like a modal or something like that. Yeah. So you can use modal if you want onto the same page. You can use modals. Okay. So this is, I think, fine, right? Uh, all right. Okay. So can you quickly show as to how to do modal and stuff? You can explore it by yourself. I think there will be modals. So it's a component, open modal. So you can see the modal is open now. You can click back and it's closed. So you can try this, right? Built-in component, no need to worry about, no need to reinvent the wheel, no need to implement it from scratch. You can try this out very easily. Okay. Any other question, guys? Otherwise, we can wrap up and I'll push this code. We'll add few more functionalities in the tomorrow's session and then we can deploy this. Okay. Any other questions? Payment API, you will require backend for that. We don't have backend. So you'll have to use backend for it. Okay. On the browser, on the browser, product slash name instead of ID. See, this only supports the ID, right? It's not in my hand to pass the name. Okay, they accepts the ID to get a single product. Yes, rest of the folks can leave now. And by the way, if you are interested in all of these things and you want to learn, right, you can join my course, an online course from GFG, right? So FSRNL courses are there. These courses, I think you would see. Yes, this is me. I'll be having my course starting in the April, May end. So if you're interested in learning all of these things from scratch, and so you can join this course basically, right? Rest, you can follow me on LinkedIn, right? Uh, you can follow me on LinkedIn and reach out to me for the things, right? Such for the things such as referral and all, right? So that's my profile, right? If you are interested, you can just check this out. You can check out my GitHub as well. You can follow me on GitHub as well, right? Uh, right over here, you can just follow me, and you can just explore the things which we are doing, right? So that's it for today. I think let's connect tomorrow and discuss more stuff in React. And please do revise if you're interested to learn more. And if you could understand these things, then this is like 60-70% of the React that is there, right? So please do revise this. Uh, and let's connect tomorrow, same time. Okay. Bye bye. Let me share the GitHub link also. Just a second. Okay, you can just access the code. I'll push the code as well, right? So the code is actually here, right? I'll give you this link as well. All right, guys, that's it for today. Bye bye.